Yeah.
Do you have pictures of your work?
Yeah, it's pretty much is the majority is picture. I just put some picture where so I can speak about it. I pretty much will speak like about my story, how I start to 3D print stuff, and then I open my business and then explain like how I go through to make a props and the tools that I use and how much time take for making them.
To see what you do. How your props look.
Yeah.
Det börjar snart. Okej. Strax. Så det är bara att ta en plats.
It's only 2 centimeters. It's not so slow.
Försöka. Nej, det är fast. Peaceball.
The microphone too.
Jag fokuserar ju Den är hur många? Det är fint vinkad och så.
Okay, it's going. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Simone Fontana. I'm a co-founder of 3DNA Ltd. It's a creative studio where pretty much we use technology to like 3D printing to make everything we want. And I am pretty well known in these are pretty much my social. You can find me easily everywhere with the first nickname, and the second one is pretty much my company nickname on social media. If you need to send me an email, that is my mail. I will put again this slide at the end. Like probably most of you, I start from zero. I bought pretty much like 3 years ago or something more a kit on Kickstart of Prusa i3, and I put together and I spent a month understanding how the technology was working, and finally after a lot of really bad prints I was able to have a good model printed with that machine, so I decided to evolve and start to have a Ultimaker 2 to have like a more professional printer. By the way, I'm Italian, and I moved from Italy to more than 2 years ago in London to open my business and work in the 3D printing industry and study, because I have a background in web developing, and I moved in London to learn 3D design, and this actually was my first model, was a salt shaker, and this is my business partner. We do both 3D modeling. I'm more using Rhino 3D and Fusion 360. And my business partner used ZBrush, so we can mix real organic shape with geometrical shape. Something like the trophy that you see on the table. I did the 2 bronze parts, and I made the organic shape in ZBrush. We do a lot of projects. That I cannot yet talk about it because we have NDA with a company, but these are public. We work like with PewDiePie, the biggest YouTuber, and we did some custom character from him. We work with esports company around the video games competition, and we create custom trophy for them. And these was actually my first props. And it was a challenge. I mean, when you start to use this machine to make big things, you need always to understand how improve your design for printing, and how you can split it, and then try to figure out the best settings to use with your slicer to make it sturdy enough to be able to work events, or just to, you know, put on the wall. And these are some of my design and creation that I make. Everything's with desktop 3D printers. So I will then explain step by step how I create the props, and in where I found the reference picture. And this one was probably my really big project that lets Blizzard contact me. That's, I don't know how many of you know Blizzard. Is one of the most popular company that creates video games, and this is from the game Overwatch. So pretty much I start to be in contact with them, and they start to feature my project and post them online. And pretty much every month I try to come out with a new design from their video games, and they kind of use it for marketing without actually saying it. But it's exposure for me, and for them is some content that they can share with the community. And this project was designed, keep in mind, to make it simple to print and without post-processing, so you could print all the parts separate in the right color, and then I assemble everything with electronics parts. And at the end of the presentation I have a short video where you can see all the steps I went through. This one is one of the latest projects that I did with this amazing cosplayer that you can find on Instagram with that tag. And I designed for her this sniper, always from the Overwatch game. And it was another challenge. I mean, when you do this kind of design, they take probably around from 5 to 7, 10 days of work, because they are big, and in particular they are full of detail. And you try to make them, at least my philosophy is, I can spend more time on a design to make it looks perfect, instead just do it quickly. And I don't know, I feel that if I want to post something, or if something needs to represent myself, I need to push it at the maximum and make the props cooler possible. And so, like in the one I did on the your left, is have actual speaker, because in the game the character can actually use it and have speaker on the side. You have a speaker on the front too, but the props will be really heavy. So you know, sometimes you need to compromise the design and try to make it at the same time comfortable to wear and bring events, and yeah, make it functional if you can. And this one was my latest one that I just finished, and I will finish soon to make the video. And pretty much the one on the left received on Facebook 600,000 views in 24 hours. And this one on Twitter, I did a post and received over 160,000 views in less than 24 hours. So I see a big potential in the market of video games, because it's growing always more, and they have a lot of money that they can invest in these kind of projects. So the step I go through to make a props are, I can say, I think everyone can make it. It's just a matter of spending time behind the design. I usually just Google the name of the props that I need to make and try to find some reference, like you can see on the top left. Blizzard usually provides some really good picture for reference, so you can just go inside each video games and try to take some great screenshot. And usually I always suggest to find at least the side of each props, and if you can the front. And then I import the picture in a CAD software. This one is Fusion 360. And I calibrate the picture. So I try to understand, usually most of the video games company lets you understand the size of each character. So you can try to figure out the right proportion to scale the picture and calibrate. So the moment you will start to trace it and extruder, should be everything's already in the right dimension, and you don't need to scale it up or down after when you finish to make the model. So pretty much with the side view, you can start to trace each part and extrude them, and this is pretty much the final results. And most of these shape are just classic extrusion with some maybe combined with other shape. I can say probably the most difficult parts could be maybe design the wheels, I guess, or like maybe this kind of shape, but it's just playing around really with extrusion, combine, fillets. Yeah, I really like basic tool. I didn't use nothing really crazy. I just used some surface modeling on the bottom part here that I can show you, I think. Yeah. On these parts, I pretty much use surface modeling because I need to be able to make it to have this follow this shape at the same time the shape of this part, this side. And then I did a render of the model in Fusion 360. Is quite easy. I can maybe just go through after if you want. And I split the model in parts to be able to make it printable in a desktop 3D printers. And I do these things pretty much for most of my design, and I make it printable for desktop. They usually have a bed around 20 by 20 by 20 centimeter. Usually you can use even smaller printer, but I try to maximize my time, because if you can put bigger parts in your printer and just let it run maybe during the night, during the day, because this kind of project probably are everyone around 90 to 120 hours of printing with the right settings. So, and probably around from 2 kilos to 3 kilos of material. So each one are big projects and they require a lot of time. After you print all the parts, I assemble them, and then I will explain each material that I use to assemble, and start to filling all the line for pretty much, and sanding. And sanding is a big and important part for 3D printer parts. I spend days and days sanding the layer down, and is probably the things that I don't like in props making with 3D printing. Maybe in particular because PLA is not super easy to sand down. You can use ABS, that will probably improve your experience with sanding, but of course we all know that ABS is more tricky to print. So just to be sure, usually I always use PLA just because it's easy to print and you don't have too many issues with most of the common printers. And this one was the final result. So these one are all, I would say, the essential tool that I use to post-process stuff. So starting from the top left, we have epoxy and super glue. So to put together the parts, I use epoxy, leaving some small spots where I will put super glue. And this is, I do this procedure because epoxy take around 5 minutes to set up, and super glue is a lot more faster. So super glue will keep together the two parts and let time to the epoxy to dry, and after it will be really sturdy. And in case I need to have something more resistance, like usually I put some threaded rod, like in this design I put inside here, these top parts, some threaded rods, just to be sure that that part will not break if you carry around the props. I do the same, yeah.
Can you go back to the last?
This one? Yeah, I will anyway come back.
Thank you.
No worry. You can anyway, if you then go on my YouTube channel, you can usually list everything that I use. So I put every links. So if someone want to replicate what I actually do, they can do it quite easily. Okay. And like, if I do, in particular, if I do sword, like this one that was 1 meter and 30 centimeters long, I put 2 steel rods through all this part of the sword, or anyway, it will probably break or it will be really, really hard to carry around. I did the same for here. I put like little steel rod inside different parts, and then I assemble, and that you can even split it in parts and reassemble each time, so you can actually travel more easily with some props like this.
Do you usually do that for aligning parts together?
Yeah, I usually do, I can show you. I use rod to align too, and sometime when I do here, I create little pin that I print them, and then I use them to align each part when I go to glue it. Or it will be quite messy, put the parts together and be everything's aligned, and you will need to spend even more time sanding and try to improve the props. Yeah, then we have pretty much milliput is what I actually use now, but you can use Bondo, you can use other kind of material to fill in the gaps and try to improve the surface. Then of course masking tape, acrylic paints, varnish. When you finish everything is just make it looks better, all the color. Then we have primer. So pretty much after you put together all the parts, you start to filling with milliput or Bondo. You can start to primer and sand down the layer. Usually I start with 80 grit sandpaper, and then I start to sand it down. I do some spray with the primer. I sand again down with 80 grit, and then I'm now experimenting with Zipoxy, that is resin. And I apply with old brush these solutions. Pretty much you need to put together the same quantity from each bottle, put it together, and you have 30 minutes to be able to brush it on the props.
Have you used isopropanol to thin it out?
No, I always use after sandpaper.
Use alcohol.
No, I don't
Thin
use.
it out.
No, I don't use alcohol.
Yes.
I don't know. I never. I'm experimenting. I use it like one time for now, because it creates a nice layer on top of the actual props, and so you avoid probably. You save probably some hours of sanding because you just go and sand in the resin, and yeah, I think you save around like at least 4 or 5 hours of sanding. And then I use airbrush to do some retouch on color, or if you want to paint quickly some big portion, have a nice finish touch, and of course some brush. And then after I finish with the 80 grit, I usually go to 320 grit. And if you even want really smooth, you can go even higher with the sandpaper and maybe do some wet sanding if you want a really nice finishing. But depends how much time you want to spend to build the props, because I say before, sand is a big part of the process. And I will finish with this video that is around 3 minutes about some of my creation, and then we can do a Q&A if you have any question. So this is pretty much the end of the presentation. If you need, why is so big? If you have any question or anything, you can just contact me. This is my mail and this is my social. If you have any question, I can reply now.
I got one.
Yeah.
How do you use a 2D image and make a 3D 360 video? 360 object of it?
Okay.
How do you use it with the tracing? They don't have a too thick or too thin pop. They don't get the...
I can show you in Fusion 360 if you want. Let me open. So this is my canvas, and if I want to make a part from this design, I will click on here that is create sketch, and in Fusion 360 you need to select a plane. I will select this frontal plane, and what I will do, I will take a line and start to trace my parts. I will do it really rough. Then here I will switch a spline because I need to have a curve. So from this sketch, what you can do is stop sketching and using the extrusion tool. And when you have a closed shape, a closed line, you can, it's not a closed line. Let me go back. I don't know if it's... okay, it's not visible. Okay. With the extrusion tool, you can extrude a line, and it becomes pretty much solid. I don't know if...
So how do you fuse that back part with the handlebar?
Then you can combine them. You can trace each part you want, and then you can join them together, each part. So usually the way I work is I create each individual parts, separate, and then I put them together, or I try to create some connection to each other. Depends how I decide after to print the props or whenever I'm designing.
So how do you do the magazine, the one that's covered?
That
one, yeah.
This one.
Yeah. You can see the thickness.
Is always the same. I can show you all the sketching that I did for the magazine. Would be a bit tricky to find each sketch, so I will just I found another picture of the props that was, yeah. This one. And pretty much I trace it and then I scale it, the drawing in the right proportion for my actual props. And then I just extrude again these lines. It's just a way to see it. How I see it is really like something like this particular like geometrical shape that you don't have like strange curve or strange surface are really easy to make. It's just a matter of spending time and try to figure out the perfect sketch, extrude them, and then play around with chamfer, fillets, and combine or subtract. I mean, with the combine function, you can decide if two solids can go together or if you are removing one solid from another, and slowly you can build up something like these props. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you ever tempted to use strong chemicals instead of sanding?
No, because my big part of the time I work from my room right now, so I will avoid strong chemical stuff. Yeah.
Someone asked about your render workflow. Can you show us
Yeah, yeah, I can show something absolutely. I just opened the other file. So if you finish a model and you want to create a render, you have the different environment on this tab, and you just click on render, and under these environments, clicking on this icon that is appearance, you are able to go through to different material and different colors. Or even if you can pick some material and then change the color of each material. Like if I want to change the color of some parts, I can just like pick a random one and put on a solid. Remove it. And they will, now I pick glass, so it's become pretty much transparent. And you can render using two different action. You can do the full body or you can do the face. And I use these techniques in different parts of the props, like here the frontal parts. This is one part, so if I bring something like this, it will become one color. But if I want to go through face, I'm able to put a different type of material and color on each face of the actual body. And yeah, and pretty much you go through each part and each face and pull material and put them on the software, and then you can decide to render locally with Fusion 360 or in the cloud. So clicking on this icon, you can set up all the settings that you want and just, or put in the queue of the render, or just use your PC if you have a powerful PC, and then you have different, you can create different render. Now it's loading from the cloud because I usually use the cloud. And this one was like rendering before actually apply material on top of the model.
Can you try the most photorealistic?
Sorry?
Can you try the most photorealistic render mode?
Yeah, you could for sure. I'm not yet that level in Fusion. This was my first model done in Fusion 360 that I
I was thinking if it was a setting, because
yeah, I guess so, but I'm not probably the right person to ask right now. Yeah, I'm really like experimenting. I'm like kind of rookie. I mean, I have experience because I work before with Rhino 3D, anyway, with another 3D CAD software. And moving another software is always, you just need to understand where and how you can make new stuff in each software. For now, I spend more time in the modeling side, and rendering I just quick usually to make some good looking render for my model. I'm pretty sure you can ask. I think after will come the Fusion 360 guy, so I'm pretty sure he will show you.
You mentioned you're using both Fusion 360 and Rhino. Which tool would you use for which job?
Right now are two different kind of modeling. Rhino is a surface modeling software. So if you are not paying a lot of attention, and if you are not skilled, it can be a really painful software for 3D design, for 3D printing, because using surface, to create a, I don't know if I have Rhino. Yeah, I can show you quickly. You create surface and you join them together, and when you join each surface together, it becomes an actual solid. So sometimes when you go and do really tricky and particular shape, you can have hole that you maybe don't see in the software, but after usually when I do stuff with Rhino, I always use after netfab to be able to check if everything is right with my model, and then I printed. Like instead with Fusion 360, if I make something, I'm sure pretty much 100% that it's a solid, and I can actually print it. So like I can quickly. So pretty much you can do surface modeling too in Fusion 360, but it's not like Rhino 3D. Rhino 3D is done to make surface modeling. So pretty much right now this is a surface, and I can copy and paste this and move it. And now I can join this surface together, so if I move it, are all together. And let me, okay. Sorry, it's because when I move in Rhino 3D, I need to use different button and different option on the mouse, and when I use Fusion 360 are other button or button on the mouse. So all the time when I switch from one software to the other is always tricky to move. And then when you put together surface, you can use the function like cap that actually, if it's a easy shape, it will close for you the surface and make a solid. So now I'm pretty sure this, because it's a easy shape, is a solid. And if I can actually just export this file and print it with no issue.
I think the big difference is if you put a fillet on the edges, you can't go in and edit and still have the fillets.
Yeah, too, because I switched to Fusion 360 because I really like the storyboard that you have on the bottom parts. So you can easily come back to some feature and just edit them, and then depends from your PC, it will take some time, maybe if it's a big model, but I will just edit everything. With Rhino, most of the time you need to rebuild that part of the shape. You have a kind of history when you do some action. So if I draw a line, if I draw like this line, and I use this button on the bottom, record history, and I use like this function. I can directly change the points of this line, and automatically it will update the shape. But this is something, but it's not that powerful like in Fusion 360. And usually if you move something, it loses the connection. So if I think if I move here, it will not change. Yeah, it doesn't change because you moved that shape. So it's something that can help for some kind of modeling parts, but I prefer Fusion. And plus in Rhino 3D you usually have some issue with some fillet and some chamfer that are a bit complex, and these things don't happen with Fusion 360.
When designing things either in Rhino or in Fusion 360, do you design them specifically for 3D printing, or is that
Yeah.
thought that you use for future?
Yeah, usually I always design everything for 3D print. I mean, it's pretty much is my main business, is prototyping and doing final products using 3D printing. Then I do some casting always from 3D printing, so I usually design for keeping in mind that I need to print it. No more questions? Okay, thank you.